Okay, hello. This is another video. This time it's a video in our series of videos on structuring. And I'm trying to make an advanced uh, outline for a client, and they did something that scared the heck out of me. And they told me that I'm not allowed to use any Excel in the class, but they wanted to go over really advanced issues. So they want to see things like what happens if I change the debt sizing from, uh, you know, debt to capital or DSCR. What happens if we change the use of development fees? What happens if we use sculpting? What happens if we use maintenance contracts to get synthetic sculpting? What happens if we had hard and soft mini perms? Blah, blah, blah. That's just the first one. And then what happens if in a merchant case, you know, how do we compute bid prices, LCOEs? What should we do about interest rate hedging? Um, and then, what happens if what kind of other things? What happens if we change the EC, DSCR? What happens if we use upfront fees instead of credit spreads? All these kind of things. What's the tax effects of all this business? So that's how do I do this? And I think the right way to do this is to come up with some simple examples, just like the way we did with our first little sculpting example. So I'm going to try to make a whole bunch of these things, which I'm really doing so I can use this later on. Now, the last time we made a goal seek macro with all this difference business, and then I'm going to make another video. I hope I won't just with whittle away and just forget about this. But what happens if we put pre cash flow from operations, pre-operational cash flow? That's what I was looking at. I think today I'm going to go to pill. I'm in U.S. right now, and they say there's a pill you can get when you get older, so you won't forget things so badly. I wonder if it's true. So let's let's uh, let's do this sculpting business right now. Okay, with the Alt IM. Where's the M? Well, I meant Alt EM. Okay, and we're gonna create a copy, and we're gonna make this as taxes and function. Now, what we haven't done yet is we haven't put this thing that allows us to do the sculpting. Now, when we did this taxes in the last one with our copy and paste button, it wasn't really that bad. I shouldn't be that, you know, anti copy and paste. So, but let's see just how difficult it will be to do the same thing and uh, fix this and make it with a function. So what we'll do now, and I'm going to call this one, maybe I should call this tapses and sculpt it. Maybe I should make it a new file. Okay, so we go through the basics. Okay, now what we're going to have to do is make a function, and we need two things. We need the present value of the debt service, and we need the LLCR. So we go to our macro, and okay, why it's so small? I don't want it so small. I should put it down here so we can see it in perhaps I can make it larger. I think, yeah, okay. So that's our sub. Now what we do is put function sculpt. Now I'm gonna try to apply this with my technique where we go backwards. And well, why don't I make it? How about this? Det sculpt. Okay, so the det, we start with down det sculpt. And that's going to be equal to, we can put that here, but remember the det sculpt is here. It's computed as the sum product. So we just, I'm going to try to do this really basic. So we put worksheet function dot sum product. And why don't we, okay, sum product, and we do we make a sum product of the interest index and the debt service. Okay. I don't know why it capitalized. Did I capitalize debt service perhaps? Now the other thing we want to do is also compute the LLCR, and that's suppose that's really that we compute that after the debt sculpt. LCR equal the net present value. Now here's what I'm going to do. Just a minute. Okay, so for the LLCR, this will just be the LLCR when you have fixed debt. So this will be the PV of CFADS divided by the debt issue. Now, when we do this, PV of CFADS is the interest rate index, and this time instead of the service we put CFADS. And then we have to bring in the debt issued. Excuse me. And then target DSCR equal that worksheet function, and we have to put dot. We're going to take the maximum this time. It takes the biggest one. Of how about? Did I put a? I didn't put a. Oh, Jesus. For the input DSCR and LLCR. Okay. So that's the end, and let's start getting some of the stuff we'll need. We can put input DSCR, and then we can put debt issued. Excuse me. Come on. And then we can put PV of CFAD. That's what will be calculated. Why does it say debts? Debt CFADS. It just meant C of ADS. and then we're gonna, to get the CFADS, let's put the interest rate which we have, that's what will be the basis of the interest rate index. And to do this, we'll have to make for I equal 1 to end. How about we'll put, no, this is start period to end period. Now, the reason I'm doing this, and then somewhere we need an end, next I, excuse me. Now, the reason I'm doing this is when we read something like the interest rate index, we want to click on the whole thing. So we want, and then we want to just take it for the right index. So let's start going backwards. So this is the end, and then let's just keep going backwards. And to go backwards, we'll put interest rate interest index, and we need a array for that equal interest index I minus 1 multiplied by 1 plus the interest rate of I. That's exactly almost what we did. We didn't do it quite because we only did it for the grace period. Remember, we had a grace period. So then we better put first interest rate interest index I minus 1, not I, start period minus 1 equals 1. So we better start it all. Okay, and this will be it will be indented, and then we better read in this repayment period. So we put if repayment period I then. So, and again now, so we should do that. Okay, and the same thing we can do over here is CFADS. This is only, so we'll only compute it over the correct period, and we better do it just with an index equals cash flow. Okay, and that, so then the CFADS will be 0. So somewhere you better put CFADS equals okay. Okay, I hope I'm trying to do this efficiently as I can, and that means we better also read in the repayment period. Okay, and okay, and this is a perfect example of the kind of things I do, is that I spelt it all wrong. Okay, so now we have, and then we can well, the debt service. We need to get the CF. We've got this CFADS, so we've got enough for this one. We've got enough for this one. We've got enough for this one, but we don't have CFADS. Well, we do, and we don't have debt service. So debt service of is the interest plus the principal. Okay, and interest equals the interest rate and we better always put our thing in here times opening balance. Okay, and then up here let's put in the dimensions. Let's start. We better put the interest rate index, and we need to let's make it 1,000. It doesn't matter. Now, what I'm going to try to do, I'm trying to talk while I do this with this a little tricky, and then we'll put interest rate we've read in, but CFADS. Okay. Now, the debt balance. So let's put the debt service here too. Okay. Now, so we need somewhere that the okay target debt service equals CFADS divided by the target okay, and then we better make sure. I think the easiest way to do this is, well, no, that's fine. Let's just make sure that target is greater than 0. And when we do all of this, okay, now, I'm just, you got to get the opening balance of the debt. The opening balance of the debt is the, we put the debt sculpt. Well, that's the debt sculpt. That's the debt sculpt. So we start with opening balance equal debt sculpt. Okay, and I'm just trying to think. We should be able to do this without why didn't I'm trying to think why we didn't have circular reference. This is really bad. Okay, but then so the opening balance is the debt sculpt, and then after we compute the target debt service, I think we can do it like this: repayment equal target DS minus repayment. Okay, and once we have the minus interest, okay, now interest is the this times, and I have to spell repayment right. Okay, and then debt service, which we're going to use down here to compute the debt service, and we have debt service. Just a minute, I think we have to recompute the opening balance. Equal opening balance minus the repayment. Now this, I would suggest that we stop here. We stop here, and we see if we can compute both the LLCR and the debt sculpting using this approach. Okay, so I'm going to add a couple of things at the top so we can read in the whole lines, and then I'm just going to explain this to you. And we'll try to compute both of these things. Okay, and I'm going to turn the video off just for a minute while we do this. I'm only on 22 minutes, so it's not that disastrous yet. Okay, so I'm back, and my tea is going off, but here's what let me just explain what I did, and this is kind of, I think, sometimes the hardest part of making the whole function business is that you define the whole function as a variant, and then you have to put some kind of dimension on the output variable. So eventually we're going to have this debt sculpting give us both the DSCR and the debt amount. And here's what I do. I made one or two mistakes, not that bad. I'm getting a tiny little bit better, I think. Maybe not. I hope there's a learning curve. I hope this gets a bit easier. But you go to the very first period. That's kind of our period switch. That's kind of our theme of everything. Let's go start right here with the period. So I read in the period. If it's a number, then let's just go around and find the first number. That's where we start, and then begin at the start period and continue on. And if it's not a number, then end it and take the last one minus one. Then you've gone one too far. Okay, and that's the end period, and then exit both of these. Exit the loop. Now once we have that, well, then we can define one output as the start and one output as the end. So when I do this, you can put equal debt sculpt, tab, shift F3, put in the period first. After you put in the period, put the DSCR, which is just a single number, put the debt issued. And I think what I'm going to do is just get this number for the debt issued, put the interest rate in, which is an array because we're going to allow it to shift space, and then put the repayment period in up here. Okay, and then Here it gives us 8 and 38. Those are the outputs. You press OK. Oops, at 2, Shift Control Enter. And if you put equal column, hopefully that's 8. And if you go to the last column over here, that's 38. Okay, so we got started. I think that's the biggest deal of it all. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get a little more brave. That's the word I was looking for. Okay, and we get our interest rate index, and then we put our opening balance. So this doesn't have any taxes, it doesn't have any circularity in it yet, but let's just see if we can maybe I'll put 0 taxes in the analysis, and let's see if we can get our 2 output variables, and then our first output variable, let's get the debt sculpting. And you know what I should do is I should be really careful here, because debt sculpting is our special word, and this time opening balance is debt. I'll call this debt calculation. Okay, and in the first one, this opening balance is going to be 0 now, and then we go around and get the debt calculation here. Now, so I think we're going to have to go around. We probably wouldn't. I probably could have done this all and got the interest rate index, and then after we got the interest rate index, computed this, so this doesn't really have a circular reference, but the way I did it by putting it down here, it will. Okay, and we get the target DSCR. Okay, so they got 2 outputs we want this time are the, let's first put the debt calculation, and the second one we'll put the LLCR calculation. So those were the 2 that were giving us the problem, and now we just put debt sculpt as the output again, and then we don't have to put exit function anymore. And let's see if this worked. So I'm turning it off because I'm afraid, and then I'll come back. Okay, 27 minutes only on the video so far. So it did take me a little while. Let me show you the problems. So we went around. Now I had to make an iteration to go around a little bit, and a crucial thing I had to do was to get the EBITDA, and I hadn't got the EBITDA in, so we have the EBITDA here, and finally the interest rate index, I'm not multiplying it, I dividing it, so I had to make this painful thing, which is to make another loop and then divide it. But once we have this, it's all working. So if I, just to illustrate this, so if I change the debt service coverage, let's put a lower debt service coverage. Oops, not that low. Okay, so we change that. Now if we make the, oh, this is because it's, let's make the debt tenor only 5. So if the debt tenor is only 5, I have to press this button, and then it goes to 0, and here's our function. Okay, and it remembers shift F3, and it gives us the two outputs that we're looking at. First the debt, and then the DSCR. Okay, so the only thing we now have to do is get the taxes in, and to get the taxes in, we have to make a little tax calculation, and the tax calculation requires the depreciation and the tax rate. So let's do the last part of this calculation, and then we're finished. Now on a video of 29 minutes, it's really taken me longer because I've made a lot of mistakes, but maybe it's not that terrifying. It's a pain. I'm not claiming it's not a pain. It's a goddamn pain. But so after we have the cash flow, let's put our taxes. And taxes equals the EBT times the tax rate. Okay, which means we need to get the tax rate. Suppose we should put the tax rate here, although I kind of it might be good to put the depreciation in first because that's an array. Now the EBT, again working backwards, EBT equals EBITDA minus the, now EBT equals EBIT minus interest. Now that's, you can see that's exactly where we get the circular reference from. Okay, because we needed the interest here, which was a function of the debt service, and I believe, just a minute, so we have cash flow here. Okay, I'm gonna leave it here. I'm a little worried about if there's a placement issue, but we'll do that. Okay. And then so that's already computed, and EBIT equals EBIT DA minus depreciation. And unfortunately, depreciation is got an array. It's an array. Okay, and let's put, okay, so we can get our depreciation here. So this should have it, and now instead of cash flow being EBITDA, cash flow is EBITDA minus taxes. And let's again look at this. Interest is not computed until here. I believe it would be better since interest is on the opening balance and we have no problem here. We can compute it right up here. And then we get the repayment and the debt service. I think that should do it. Okay. And again, probably made a mistake here, but you can see the process. Start with just make the function work. If you want to do this so you can read all the periods, you've got to do something like this, but the investment is worth it. This whole kind of lesson is just about making an investment. And then when it finally works, it's okay. So let's okay. Okay, so now we press Shift F3. This time, unfortunately, I wish you could kind of there's probably some way to make this go down, but I don't know yet. Maybe one day I'll find it. And then we put in the whole line for the depreciation. So I really think it's worth the effort to be able to put the whole lines in. Okay. Now the good news is so far it worked. Okay. And then I really shouldn't probably be leaving this on. But for the tax rate, let's put back our 30% in. Now when we put back our 30%, we get a difference. Pretty big difference here. And it took a little longer, and this was should be a happy thing because everything's here. Now we can put function outputs okay, and all these things where it says fixed. First of all, let's be aggressive. Let's control spacebar, control minus. Okay, this difference as a reference. This one, and the only thing we need is this one. Ah, shit! Just a minute. Ah. Okay. Oh no. Just a minute. Shit. Thought I was really finished just now. Okay, it was a very minor error, but it was a pain, and I started swearing a lot. But I had to use this DSCR instead of the final one. That was the only problem. Okay. Now, once we have this, we can do all sorts of things. We we can change the DSCR, see what happens to our equity IRR. If we have a lower DSCR, remember, then we want to do the sculpting. Okay, then if we push it down, we can get our we should put the final debt to cap here. So that's probably I should have done this before. So if we could take this debt to the capex, okay, then we no. So we're hitting the cap, but if we oh, that's because but if they require higher DSCR, come on. Oh, then we're hitting our debt to cap ratio problem. Okay. All right. And so now the sculpting is really the issue. If we keep pushing our EBITDA down, so when we have an equity IRR of a project IRR of 3%, so we really want a high IRR, then if we could possibly push the DSCR down, then we can start getting a higher IRR. Now that's getting unrealistic. Oops, and we've even hit the debt constraint. Okay. If we go up here, we're still hitting it, and then we're getting, so I can't get if I'm that small of a margin, it's really hard to get anything high, but if I put this a little higher, then we can mess around with things and figure out how to get it all to work. Okay? Alright, and now let's just say we want to really bid on a project that we want to let's put a target equity and let's just put that in as some number. Let's say we want to get 10%, and then we put actual okay, and what we'd like to do, and then we'll put difference. Okay, and what we'd like to do is find a EBITDA that gives us a minimum, so we can put that here. Now, oops, now we can make a goal seek macro. Okay, and in our goal seek macro, let's just go to data and what if analysis and goal seek and make the difference equal to 0 by changing the EBITDA, but we better find the input for the EBITDA. That better be a blue number. Oh, come on. Okay, and I should name all these ranges. Okay. And let's stop the macro. So now we can try to see. Okay, so I guess I'm not going to worry. Well, shit, I'll worry about that. If we go to File, Options, and we go to Formulas, and I think I keep getting this wrong. Can't remember. Okay, let's redo that thing. Okay. Now, when you make a goal seek, here's our goal seek. When you make a goal seek, just a minute, I have to stop for a minute. Oh, shit. Okay, I got it wrong, of course. Why? I had a 50% chance of getting it right, and I got it wrong. But the formulas, to get it really specific, you change the bottom, not the top. Let's see, if I do it 100 times, maybe I'll remember that. Okay, so we want a 10% IRR. And in order to do that, we need this. Now let's see if we're hitting a debt to capital constraint. So what can we do? Well, the only thing we really can do in this case is start increasing the debt to capital by putting some kind of thing like a development cost in. So what was it before? It was 65, and let's say that, let's put this down to 70. Okay, and then when we do that, then we have a higher EBITDA. Maybe it's not high enough to really worry about. And then if we put the debt tenor down enough, now we're running into the other constraint. Now we have to charge 77. So, and we switched over to the debt to capital constraint. And let's say if we change the target equity IRR to 7%. Okay, now we're at the debt to capital constraint. So this time it would be really important to start increasing this one. And when we do this, oh, we're back to the debt to capital constraint. So then we got to negotiate with the bank and get or get a development fee or something to get our effective leverage up, and then we can change this. Probably the thing that matters most is the target equity IRR, but you can see how some of these other things work. Okay, and there's a little problem with the grace period, so I'm gonna stop this. But this goal seek, this kind of thing you did, that would only work. Or well, you could fudge it around and put it in a damn copy and paste method. But I hope this should make you feel like a major accomplishment. Okay. Why that? I still don't have any idea why it does that. Okay. Let's put the tenor way down. Then we're back to the debt to capital constraint. So then if we really want to get aggressive, we do this. and we're still in the debt to capital constraint. So I don't know what else can we could do. Well, let's try the grace period now. When I put the grace period, something's going crazy. So shit, this is the story of your life, my life. It's just every time I think I'm finished, I'm not really not. Okay, so I'm gonna pause. Okay, this is getting long, this video, but all I had to do was put the repayments inside the repayment period because it was computing the debt service outside of it. So that's what that is. Now let's do a little bit more of an experiment. Let's say instead of having our depreciation life of 5, we change it to 15. So again, everything's automatic now. And let me see which method are we perhaps I should put the method right here, excuse me. And then now if we make the tenor longer this time, we're still at the sculpting oops, okay, and we're still got our sculpting problem. So let's, oops, then we get to maximum gearing. And then if we want to keep going, we better increase our leverage. Okay. And we're back to sculpting. So let's try to put a repayment thing. And we're still in sculpting. Oops. Okay, and I don't know how, I haven't been really watching how low we can get with our goal seek, but that's the analysis. I hope this is more about starting to be a little more about analysis than simply playing with some numbers. Now, there are 2 other issues we're going to treat next. And the next one is going to be to switch it from sculpted to equal. We're going to switch it to equal installment, and then we're also going to insert a bullet repayment and just kind of see how much benefit we can get out of all this. And I'm going to keep doing the horrible circular reference with the functions. I'm starting to hate it. I'm starting to hate this method, but I'm not gonna stop with it. All right, so that's it. Bye.